Welcome to this episode of the My Electricians Toolbox podcast. I'm James Dewane, founder of My Electricians Toolbox and the author of the S.P.A.R.K.S Blueprint to Marketing.
My name's Steve, I'm an electrician and I've been a long-time member of the Toolbox community. I'm also a mentor and a trainer for the members in the group.
In this episode, we are going to explore some of the questions that often get asked inside the Toolbox community. So Steve has compiled a number of questions, and what we're going to do is just explore and many of these questions have been answered inside of the community, and some of this stuff won't be new to you or won't be news to you, but they are questions that quite often come up. So we're going to explore these and see if we can answer them as fully as possible to help you to take advances forward in your business. Steve.
Great. So we had a question come in from David Durham from Durham Electrical Limited. What's the best way to stop wasting time on price shoppers and start landing better paying jobs?
Okay, so the easiest thing to do as far as avoiding price shoppers is the positioning part of what we have in the S.P.A.R.K.S Blueprint. The S.P.A.R.K.S Blueprint 6-step system, the P of the S.P.A.R.K.S stands for positioning. And unfortunately, what people tend to do is they market their business to get work. They don't market their business to get customers. And the reality is, when you market to get customers, you end up with a better level of work. You end up with better paying clients. And that all comes down to how you position yourself in your local community. And that positioning is done with every single thing. The expression that we use is everything you do and everything you say is marketing, right? So from the moment you open the doors of your business, you are marketing your business. So the message you're getting out into the community is how people will see you, how people will view you. And your marketing should be as much about repelling the wrong kind of people as it is attracting the right kind of people. Now, some people grapple with that and they find that difficult to understand. So let me say it again. Your marketing should be as much about repelling the wrong kind of people as it is about attracting the right kind of people. You don't want everybody picking up the phone and calling you. You want the right type of customers picking up the phone and calling you. And as in David's situation, when you have people who are price shopping, and there will always be price shoppers out there, and there's a distinction to be made as well between price shoppers and value seekers. A lot of people want value for money, but there will always be somebody who wants a job done at the cheapest possible rate, and they're not necessarily your customer. So when you market yourself, when you write your blogs, when you do your Facebook posts, when you create a leaflet, when you put an ad in a magazine, everything that you say in those publications, everything that you say in those marketing pieces, present a picture of the type of business you are. So presenting that right image will prevent the price shoppers from coming. So expressions like, and this is a very simple example, but expressions like, we may not be the cheapest, or if you're looking for the lowest cost solution, when you add that type of rhetoric into your marketing, it will leave those price shoppers going, well, that's not the one for me because I want the cheapest or I want the lowest possible price. So I guess for David's answer and for anybody who's thinking about that, it is just about how you position yourself.
So I understand that a key aspect of that is identifying who the right customer is going to be for you.
Absolutely. One of the very first steps that we have any of the Toolbox members complete is understanding who their ideal customer is. Again, you'll know and I know, but your ideal customer is not going to be my ideal customer. My ideal customer is not going to be David's ideal customer. And there's a huge level of work that goes in at the front end when you open up your business, when you start your business. There's a level of work that you need to do to understand who your ideal customer is so that you can market to the right people and to the right demographic. And again, unfortunately, most people open the doors of their business and invite everybody in, but they believe that they have a solution for everybody. And they may very well do. They may be highly qualified and be able to do lots and lots of different types of work and please different types of people. But the reality is they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because you will end up with time wasters. You will end up with price shoppers. You will end up with people that you look, we've all experienced it. There's those customers when you walk away from a job and you think, I never want to do that again. I never want to get involved with that person again or that type of person again. But unfortunately, often we discover that too late. You can control it by understanding and identifying who your ideal customer is and then marketing directly to that customer. And don't be fooled by the idea that you can just create your ideal customer. And unfortunately, there are many coaches and gurus out there who will give you worksheets and help you to plan your avatar by just inventing or creating that individual. You know, the typical scenario, I want somebody who has deep pockets, drives a Ferrari, lives in a mansion. And that's a dream. That's not really looking at your ideal customer. And by the way, that type of person might not even be ideal. But that's a fiction and a dream. We don't talk about creating your ideal customer. We talk about and we train on identifying your ideal customer. Because if you've been in business for any period of time, but whether it be 3 weeks, 6 years, 10 years, you will have a list of people that you have worked for, that you've had inquiries from. And based on a process that we work through, can't go into over this particular question, but a process that we work through, by going through those individual customers, you can identify from that group who your ideal customer is, rather than making up a fictitious example of who your ideal customer is.
So essentially, there are people customers then that fit your business, and there is also your business fits certain customers, and it's not always balanced. Not between the two.
No, not always, and there will always be. We say this time and time again. There's a huge amount of power in saying no, and when you feel that the customer is a wrong fit, you should never feel obliged to have to solve their problems. You should be able to walk away and say, not for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That job is not for me. And the power of being able to do that, it leaves you clear, number one, to work for the right kind of people. And it takes away a multitude of headaches.
Yeah.
When you're working for people that you want to work with and that want to work with you and that appreciate what you do.
And 9 times out of 10, it isn't the type of work that you're doing. It's the type of people that you're working for.
Absolutely.
Great. So we had another question from Lewis from LET Electrical. And his question was, how can I grow my business without having to work every evening and weekend? It's one of those things that you get into when you set up a business. You always think you're going to have more time and more money.
Okay. I think there needs to be a distinction about growing your business. What do you mean by growing your business? Because so many people believe that the busier they are, the better business they have. And we know that the reality of that is you don't have to be busy to have a successful business.
Absolutely.
In fact, if you are busy, you probably don't have a successful business. You are literally being that busy fool running around trying to please everybody, trying to claw money in. So I think, for Lewis, I think the answer is take a step back and think about what you want out of your business and what does a successful business mean to you. Does a successful business mean that you're earning enough so that you can do the things you want to do? Does a successful business mean that you are growing a business and employing 9, 10, 15 staff? What is it for you? What is success? What does that mean first? When you know that, then you can start working backwards as to what do I need to do to ensure that it's not taking over my life. And there are, in terms of business, there are strategies that you can use. We have marketing calendars, doctor's diary, marketing hour. There's any number of different strategies you can put into place that ensure that you don't have to work, 12, 15, 17, 18, 20 hours a day. You can literally map out your day, and within your day, you have time for if we take the example of, I'm not going to go into the history of how it became the doctor's diary, but we have a process that we call the doctor's diary where we block out times in the day. So you can map out your marketing time, your admin time, your actual on the tools time, if you are an electrician who's on the tools as well, your personal time, and your personal development time as well. So you can map that out over the course of a week, which means that if you are disciplined enough to follow that and disciplined enough to develop that for yourself, and it will be individual, it's different for every individual, then you can grow a successful business around that without having to work every hour of the day. But it starts with understanding what you want. It starts by understanding what success means to you first, and then working backwards from that.
Absolutely. And success means different things to different people.
Absolutely.
And like you said, success to one person, maybe 10 employees, 3 or 4 vans on the road. Success to another person is working 3 days a week and having more time with friends and family.
It's one of those interesting things that when I'm working one-to-one with people, when I'm doing some private coaching with people, in the early stages of that relationship, I often find out that people are basing their idea of success on somebody else's business. And they're looking to other people in their community and going, well, he's got 3 vans on the road and he's got 9 members of staff and it's like, but is that what you really want? Because if you're basing your success off of somebody else, or if you don't know what success means to you, you're never going to achieve it. What you need to do is decide, what does it mean to, why did I start my business? Did I start my business to grow an entity that was going to pay me and my family for, the remainder of our life and have generational wealth? Or did I build a business that was going to allow me to do the things that I want to do in life? Whether it's rock climbing, whether it's scuba diving, whether it's, whatever your passion in life is your business there to give you that freedom, or are you growing something for generational wealth? It's different for everybody, but you need to know what success means to you before you can start mapping out how to make it work for you.
Yeah, brilliant. Good answer. Really good answer. Okay, another question we had from Jed Aspbury Electrical. How do you get to choose who you want to work for and the jobs you really want to do? Kind of relates back to the ideal customer that you've already mentioned.
It does, but again, it goes back to the power of saying no as well. I mean, if we just, I'm not going to glance over the fact of how important understanding your ideal customer is, but we can all map out and understand who our ideal customer is. That's fine. Now we need the discipline to say no to people who are not our ideal customer. If you are saying yes to everybody because you feel, there's a number of reasons we do. There's a number of reasons as electricians that we do. We believe we're qualified to take on the work, so therefore we should take on the work. Or we feel, I don't want to let somebody down because I can solve their problem. They need that problem solved, so I don't want to let them down. Or we feel, well, if I don't take this job on, there's nothing else around the corner. I might not get another shot at it. I might not get another job. That's fear of missing out. Yeah. So there's a number of reasons why we say yes to people who we really shouldn't say yes to. And what we need to do, and this is a mindset issue for every individual, and it's not an easy thing, it's a discipline thing, it's something that you have to get used to doing, and that is saying no. Because the power of saying no means that you're in choice, which means that when the right kind of person comes along, you're open to receive, or you're open to work for that right kind of person. If you're saying yes to the wrong kind of person, you've now tied your time up, you've tied your space up, you've tied your thinking space up with the wrong kind of person. So you're not open to receiving or taking in or working for the right kind of person. So there's a huge amount of power in saying no to people, but it's a huge mindset shift. That's the word I'm looking for. Mindset shift for some people, because they are terrified of saying no. Either because they're going to miss out, or because they feel they're going to let somebody down, or it's going to upset my reputation. God, if I say no to somebody, they're going to go away and talk about me. And those are wrong reasons for saying yes. You say yes because you know that that person is a good fit for your business. It's going to help you, and it's going to move your business along, ultimately.
So you've mentioned their mindset a couple of times with relation to that question. How important is being in the right mindset to be able to run a successful business?
It's huge, and it's probably too big to cover in this. But people have mindset issues around the work they do. They have mindset issues around their own personal worth. They have mindset issues around money, whether they should be making money, how they should be charging. Everybody, and this isn't just electricians, this isn't just, but everybody has mindset issues about a multitude of different things. And I find that with all of the training that we do in the toolbox, with all of the resources that we have in the toolbox, many of the issues that we deal with are only overcome when you shift a person's thinking and you shift their mindset from thinking. One of the biggest things that we often get is, and I don't know if this helps in terms of answering the question, but one of the biggest things that we often get is the whole pricing issue. You'll have people asking in the community, how much are you charging for this? Or how do you do? And then they'll say, but I could never get away with doing that in my area. Yeah?
Common question.
I could never get away with. For example, they'll discover that we have people in the toolbox charging anything between £95 or £155 as a minimum charge. And they'll go, well, I could never charge that in my area. And that is a mindset issue. And number one, the very fact that they're saying in my area, because you're not looking to service, or you're not looking to work with everybody in your area. But I guarantee you, if you position yourself correctly, there are people in your area who are prepared to pay £95 as a minimum charge, £155 as a minimum charge. But unless you change your mindset about money, about the value you place on yourself, if you can't change that, you will never convince anybody that you are worth that money. And that is one of the big things that we have with mindset. Another one is how people view themselves. And this this shows itself when we talk to people about putting their face to their advertising campaigns, whether that's putting a photograph or an image of them on their website, or whether it's about doing a video, creating a video. People have this big mind set about how I sound, or how I look, or how people will receive me, or I couldn't possibly do that because, fill in the blank. I couldn't possibly do it because I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm too ugly, I'm too bald, I've got a lisp. We get all of the excuses. But the truth of it is that people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So when you put your face to your business, people see who's involved, and you build that know, like, and trust before you even meet those people, which means you end up getting more customers because they're drawn to you because you're the face of your business. But then people fail to do it because they have this mindset block. Another mindset issue. I'm sorry, we're still on mindset, and we're going off on various different tangents, but another mindset block, and I've had this so many times. I hate it when leaflets come through my door, so I'm not going to do leaflets, right?
Yeah.
I hate it when they come through my door. I always put them in the recycling. But then you've got to realize you're not your customer, right? You are not your customer, and that's another mindset shift.
Easy for you to say.
It's easy for you. But that's another one, isn't it? It's like, you're not your customer. So stop thinking that because you dislike something, or because you get your back up over something, that your customer is going to. And again, goes back to understanding who your ideal customer is. When you understand and you know who your ideal customer is, you'll know the way to promote to them.
Yeah, and you know how they will find your adverts, see your adverts.
Absolutely.
So I think that covers a little bit about mindset. I think that could be another episode for another day. We will go deeper into that. So let's see what other questions we've got. We had Darren from DMC Electrical trying to, again, grow his business. He knows what success means to him, but how does he know when it's the right time to start employing more staff?
That question is, I mean, there are various different answers to that. I know Darren McDonald from DMC, and I know his business, but if I'm going to answer this in a generic way, it's going to be different for everybody. First and foremost, you've got to understand, or you've got to ask yourself, do you want to employ people? Because not all of us are suited to be employers. So you've got to ask yourself the question, do I want to employ people first? Or there are other ways to expand your business. There are other ways to grow your business without employing more staff. So if you've answered the question, yes, I do need to employ somebody, or I do want to employ somebody, then you've got to ask yourself, am I looking to bring somebody along through an apprenticeship route? Which, by the way, I'm a big fan of. I don't believe there's enough apprentices proper apprentices in the industry. But is it going to be an apprentice that I'm going to bring through and grow with the business? Or is it going to be a qualified S.P.A.R.K.S that I'm going to put out to work straight away? So there's a number of questions to ask yourself in terms of what you want from an employee, number one. But then, and that will decide how you go about it. So for example, if I was today starting to employ a fully qualified S.P.A.R.K.S that I wanted to put out to work straight away, I would want to know, number one, that I was turning away enough work. And I'm taking this from the point of view of Darren, right? A one-man band at the moment looking to grow the business. So he's getting enough work in for himself and feels that there's scope he can take on another person and take on more work. So I'd want to know at this point that I'm already turning away enough work that would keep another person employed. That's number one. Number two, I would want to have at least 3 months' salary in the bank for that individual. Number four, I would want to have a contract of employment in place that allowed me to employ this person on a 3-month probationary period, which is completely legal. And the reason for that is that gives me 3 months working with this individual and growing the business, as in getting the work in, to ensure that it's sustainable moving forward before a permanent position is offered to the individual. Which means that at the end of the 3 months, that 3 months should be long enough for anybody to know if they can sustain and keep that amount of work coming in for 2 people, and that they get on with that person, and that they're managing the workload. Because when you employ another member of staff, remember, your admin work is also going to go up. So you can't look at it that it's going to be equally balanced. Both of you are going to be out doing 50% of the work. You may be doing 50% of the actual physical on-the-job work, but now your admin time is going to be more as well, because you're dealing with a member of staff also. So those are the key things. Number one, make sure that you're turning away enough work that would sustain another person if you take them on. Make sure you've got 3 months' salary in the bank to make sure that this person is secure in their employment for that 3-month period. And then make sure that your contract of employment allows you to do a 3-month probationary period so that you can make a decision at the end of the 3 months. Do I take this guy on full time, or do we part company?
Yeah. And obviously, like you mentioned, by taking on staff, there's going to be more admin. So there's an argument for taking on somebody to help with the admin staff before even taking somebody on the tools as another electrician or apprentice.
I would say, if budget allowed it, one of your very first hires should be somebody to take on your admin work. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be somebody in your business. There are many ways now to outsource admin for your business, but by helping to get some of your admin off of your plate, whether that's outsourcing your invoicing, your marketing, call answering. There's a huge amount of things that can be taken off your plate by just outsourcing, and it's a really good idea. And again, a mindset shift. Why should I get somebody else to do the work that I can do myself? It's a mindset thing. But if you can outsource a lot of your low-end tasks, if that's the right way of putting it, a lot of the stuff that takes up time but doesn't earn you a lot of money, if you can outsource that, and there are ways to do that, there's organizations that do that. And as we know, within the toolbox, we have people within the community who take care of things like call answering, invoicing, surveys,
quoting,
HR,
chasing up quoting and all that sort of stuff, and relatively reasonable cost.
Yeah.
Relatively reasonable.
Yeah. And there's a huge amount of things that you can outsource in your business that will take the weight off of you.
Brill. Kind of relating to that question again, if you're taking on staff, Chris from Mansfield's local electrician was asking, how do I keep my staff focused and motivated after I've taken them on?
Chris Ward from Mansfield Mansfield local electrician. Right. Okay. So how do I keep my staff motivated
and focused on focused on being part of that business.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it, because most people, their go-to is money. Most people think that if they pay more money, people will stay on board. Yeah, and that's not necessarily always the right solution. If you've got a really good member of staff, one of the best ways of keeping them motivated, of keeping them with you, is to get them involved, invested in your business. Get them involved in the decision-making processes. Give them more responsibility. And again, this sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Yeah, everybody thinks, oh, if I throw more money at it. The problem with throwing more money at it is people, human beings, we're very, what's the word I'm looking for here? I can't even find the words for it. But the bottom line is, if you give somebody more money today, then a couple of weeks down the line, they're going to think, well, I'm doing a little bit more now. I expect more money. And it becomes an expectation. And I don't know, for many of you who are employing people at the moment, whether you notice sometimes there's actually a drop-off in productivity, because it becomes an expectation that there should be more money involved. And then when the more money doesn't come, whether it's that annual increase or whatever, they start to resent it. And it becomes a tool that works against you rather than a tool that works for you. So there are other ways of incentivizing people. There are other ways of making them feel more involved with the business. One of those, my belief, is by giving them more responsibility, by involving them in decision-making processes within the business as well, by keeping them informed of what your plans are for the business. How many times have you made decisions in your business about what you were going to do, whether it's the direction the business is going to go, whether it's the type of clients or customers that you're taking on, whether it's marketing campaigns that you're running, and you've never ever discussed it with your staff. You've never brought them into that process. You've just gone ahead and done it because for you, great idea. And your staff can have some fantastic ideas as well. And when you start implementing stuff that they have suggested, when you start working with them and they believe that they have contributed to the success of the business, they become mentally invested in your business as well. And that makes it more difficult for them to walk away.
And if it's something that they've suggested, they're going to be kind of more passionate, more enthusiastic about that thing.
Absolutely.
And again, like developing or identifying your ideal customer, you can identify specific jobs that your staff are particularly good at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to make it clear, because of what I've just said, I'm not saying don't give staff pay rises. Staff deserve pay rises. What I'm saying is that money isn't always the full answer, that there are other things that you can do to incentivize staff.
Thank you, James. I think that's a good place to stop the podcast for today. Please do like, share and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode.